The event that could change the world. The internet is currently abuzz with the data that the remote viewers unintentionally got. Working a blind target, they brought back data that had nothing to do with the tasking, but consistently among the team of viewers, they brought back something that could spell catastrophe. I'm joined with my good friend and remote viewer, Dick Allgire, with the Future Forecasting Group. Dick, we're going to check in tonight about this data here, but how are you, my friend?
I'm good. First, let me say, Dennis, congratulations on your new podcast. I love your
Thank you.
style. The subscribers love your style. I like you personally. You do a really good job, and we expect great things from you. So, congratulations, and I'm happy to be talking with you. I always love doing segments with you. You are so professional. So, this is going to
Thank
be
you.
really fun tonight.
Coming from you, that's a huge compliment, Dick.
All right.
I
I
appreciate
mean it.
that. It's always,
Yeah.
I know you do. It's always great to, I've always looked at you as a role model and mentor, and now a friend. So I'm very honored to have
Well,
that compliment
God,
from you.
I've been working with you like 4 years now, 5 years. How long has
Been
it been?
4 or 5 years. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's been
It
four
it all
years.
runs together, but it's been a while now. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
I know it. Marty Hibbs has been 3 years, and I was at least a half a year with you prior to that. So it's been at least four
yeah,
years.
yeah. At least 4 years. At
We've
least
been through a
2018,
lot,
19. We have been. Oh
crazy
my gosh.
times.
I know. I remember when we first met and you just giving me these phone calls. And first I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Dick Allgire. And then you're going, hey, the financial system's going to change and the world's going to change. And I'm
Yeah,
sitting here trying to take it all in. And then we watched it happen. And it's just been such a roller coaster that we went through.
yeah. So you and I are we're gonna talk about the big event, and then we might get into some personal stuff that people might uh find interesting. We're just gonna have
Yeah.
a Dick and Dennis talk right now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it'll
It's
be
going to be a
good.
great conversation. So this big event, and you can see it. Futureforecastinggroup.com is our website where you can connect and see everything that we have to offer, and that's where it's uploaded now, where you can watch it through our website. But Dick, tell me a little bit about this project and your experience with it.
So we're given targets like every week. They give us a remote viewing target, and we get assigned the target with no human contact. We're given an email or a link to a website where they give us a target ID, like A1, B2, C3, D4. So they gave us one and didn't know who tasked it. Don't see any of the other viewers' work, and I do my work, and I don't hear anything back. About a week later, they say, we're doing a sub queue on this, so there's a new target ID. Work this part of it. They go, hey, A2, D4, D9, 3,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do that. And then we go to the debrief, and we're told, this is an anomaly. This is something really strange, because the target that we were looking at was, we were looking for something over the horizon, and they wouldn't tell us what it was because we didn't hit it, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to burn the target. They're going to
Right.
retask us later, but we didn't hit that. But everybody got data about traumatic, explosive, political,
Yeah.
earth-changing big events. And to
Wow.
have, you've seen our remote viewing work for 4 years now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of us is going to hit it, one or two
Oh
of
yeah,
us.
without a doubt.
And to have all of us corroborate this dire warning type data was really got our attention. And so we did some analysis on it, and it was like corroborating on a number of, so what it seems to be, and just you need to see the whole event. It seems to be political drama, political theater, political upheaval, followed by at least two or maybe more high explosive events with debris falling and ejecta, and it looks kind of like we were nicknaming it the next 9/11, sort of.
Mm. Wow.
I think. And
That's
now remote viewing can be wrong. We can misinterpret it. It is possible we might have all gone off on a flight of fantasy.
Mhm.
We also worked it around the anniversary of 9/11,
Yeah,
and
some of
there
you worked it
might be
on
like,
9/11.
yeah, I worked at the second part on 9/11, and I actually thought of that, like, is there a anniversary anniversary reverberation, like a psychic scar in consciousness that pops up if you do
Yeah.
remote viewing on that date? We're not sure. We don't know. So we're putting
Yeah.
this out with a question mark, like, the could this be the events that change the world? Question mark.
Right.
We're not trying to be definitive, and we're not trying to sell fear porn. We're not
No, I
telling
think that's
everybody,
important.
quit your job, sell your house, go hide
Right.
in a bunker type things. So
I think that's important to note. Two things. I want to talk about the 9/11 energy, and I want to talk about not selling fear porn, because we've worked. I know when I was hosting, the debrief, we've all worked very hard when we get scary data to
uh,
explain that it's remote viewing data. It often comes in really, really high and isn't necessarily as scary as the data sometimes sounds. We look at Daz. Daz predicted the Lebanon bombing, and
yeah.
it was mushroom cloud data. And we're all whenever we get it, we're still like freaked out by it. That was
But
a bad thing, but it wasn't as catastrophic as we were anticipating, right?
but well, if you were in Beirut, that was pretty damn catastrophic.
Yes,
I don't
right,
think Daz's session on that was an overreach by any means.
right,
I think
right.
he accurately described
He did.
that event.
The I
The,
think our
the
reaction to it sometimes, though, when we're trying to figure
oh,
out.
okay, a better illustration, and you'll remember this one.
Mhm.
Remember, we all had mushroom clouds one month,
Yep.
and you were
Yep.
hosting that one. And it's like,
Yes. I had it too. Yeah.
oh yeah, you had it too. So
It was world
you,
events.
me, Daz, Nyiam,
Hmm.
like five of us.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the world events, and you'd say, "What's your most interesting?" And Daz says, "Well, I don't know what to make of this, but I saw this mushroom cloud." So
Yeah.
Edward goes, "God, I saw a mushroom cloud." I go, "Guys, so did I," and then so did you. And
Yeah.
so we were. I remember the debrief. You and I and all of us were going, "Well, geez, how do we put this out?" Because we're not trying to
Right.
say there's going to be a thermonuclear war here, but we
Right.
got the data, so we put it out with a cautionary, a caveat, like, hey, we could be wrong, or it could be smaller. And damn if that volcano didn't go off in Canary Islands, and
Yeah. La
on
Palma.
every newscast around the world that showed this mushroom cloud,
Yep.
the
Hmm.
when the volcano blew up. So we
I
were right.
breathed. Yeah. I breathed such a sigh of relief when I saw that it was the volcano. It was devastating for that community there, and I felt horrible for them.
Yeah,
But when you're in the sessions and you're looking at the data, and then you kind of get a little emotionally involved in it, your mind can't help but to go to, like, what if this is the big one, right? Because you're seeing a mushroom cloud.
yeah,
So I think it's good that we try to have that caution with data like this. Now, this is an anomaly because none of you were tasked, and you guys are very good, and you're almost always, at least more than half of us are on target when we do, our
yeah,
weekly hits, our weekly projects. But for all of you to be off target, but to bring back the same data,
yeah.
I think is very significant.
So we should probably talk about the criticism that we'll get from some people who will
Hmm.
say, where is it and
Yep.
what's the date?
Yeah.
You got to tell us where it's going to happen on what date. And that
Yeah.
is really difficult in remote viewing.
It
It's
is.
and if we had a location and a date, would we publish that? I mean, on based on remote viewing data. I think maybe, I was talking with one of our advisors about this
Hmm.
current one, and I said, "Oh, you guys should have given me. I can do dates in remote viewing. I have a
Right.
protocol where I can get within a year on a good day, plus or
Right.
minus 3 days." And I was told, "No, no, we don't want that. That would be too
Yeah.
much to put out. It would might cause more trouble." That's right. I what I think, Dennis, is probably the um who needs to know about it. The competent authorities have seen our
Yep.
work, and if
Agreed.
any preventive measures need to be taken, it 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 will be behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Um,
Yeah, I agree, because I think there's enough data in there. Sean did an excellent job compiling everybody's corroboration there. He did a
yeah,
really good presentation at the end of you guys sharing your data. So a competent analyst will look at that and say, okay, here's what they're pointing at. Here's what they're predicting. So I think you're right. It'll get in the right hands for the people that need to know.
So the thing that was interesting to me was that Cliff High in his WebBot data also independent of what we did, not based on remote viewing and not seeing our data or hearing from us. He says something big is over the horizon that has a 13 times greater impact than anything he's ever seen in terms of release value, release language. He says something big's coming. Okay, and then we have another really good remote viewer that I think you know about and Daz has worked with, Gail Husick, who's done professional viewing. She had data come up. And then you tell us about your session.
I'll share. I actually have it queued up. I'll share what I have here.
Okay, tell us
now.
How did you give you a background. When?
So this was on September 9th, and every so often, just me experimenting with remote viewing, I'll just do a random kind of what's coming. It's like a world events that I do, but like what's coming into my life, what can I expect?
Surf the consciousness internet.
Yeah, it's been a rewarding experience for me, just going out there and
that's a useful thing to do. And to write that down and document, that's a useful thing to do. Okay, so that's how you did it. You did it September 9th, which was the same time we were all doing our work.
Right. And I had no idea that you guys were getting this data. I'm completely out of that loop right now, being in the podcast. It wasn't until when you guys released it, when I saw the teaser for it, that was coming out. And that's when I hit you up and say, hey, let's put this on the podcast. But it was a couple weeks.
You've been working so closely with us for 4 years. You're in our closed local consciousness.
We're entrained.
So let's see what you got.
Yeah, let me show you what I have here. All right, here we go. So I got information about a message. And again, I'm thinking this is just for me in my personal life. So I highlighted some of the important things here. A message, indications of change. I'm starting to get movements of life and people. And I knew that there were indicators and warnings, looking at young men and martyrdom. And then I had a flat, depressed area surrounded by structures. And I had a movement of energy outwards, the color red coming from a structure. I had the word evacuation. Describe the movement. I had slow, sullen, melancholy people moving.
3 of the other viewers had 3 people.
Oh, wow. I missed that.
Wow. Yeah. Go look. Yeah. Okay.
I'll look for that.
Yeah. Just note that. Okay.
And then I just had Daz Smith smiles on Zoom. And now knowing that you guys presented this information, I'm wondering if that's what I was seeing. But I had an event that's forthcoming. And then I got this traffic scene here. Vehicles, engine sounds, coughing sounds. They were slow moving. And then there was an aerial structure. It was noisy. It was low flying. It was hovering right over the traffic. And then I heard this voice say, like, get out of your car. Don't hesitate. Just go and trust your instinct. Pull over to the side. Don't proceed forward.
Did you see my roadblock data with the bullhorn? I had something.
Oh, yes, I did. Yep. Yeah. And then here it is, an event, upward energetics, billowing, an explosion or a fire. And then I had the word strike and the word toxic here. And that was all the data that was relevant to that. And then I moved on to something else because I had no idea that I thought this was just noise, because why would I encounter something like this in my life?
We'll put that in the system and get the timestamp on it. And if something happens, we've got it documented. So that was one of my most disturbing thing, was like a police checkpoint with somebody in a car, and the car is stopped, somebody with a bullhorn, and they weren't being allowed through, which matches your data.
Yeah. And I felt that it was almost as I was in the traffic, and it was like, pull over to the side of the road. And it was like you have that thought in your head where this doesn't feel right. I need to get out and run. And it was that, and that's what the data was telling me, get out and run. And there was just that event up in the front. Wow. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
We will see. We hope there's not a catastrophic earth-changing event. I mean, we would rather be wrong than see that. But
yes, we would be.
It's on the record.
But I want to stress, as you're stressing here, this isn't something we want to spread panic for.
Yeah.
I know you guys just felt this is an anomaly. We have this data and we're going to share it just in case it can be useful to somebody. Just like Edward, I mean, Edward, you were talking about dates and things. Edward got COVID data in 2017, in
Yeah.
November of 2017. We just did a podcast talking about it and he put it out there. So that's what we're doing. We're putting it out there in case it's valuable to somebody. But if it doesn't happen, that's great. I'd rather say, okay, that was a miss. It was an anomaly. But it's not to scare people at all. We don't want to spread
Yeah.
that kind of fear.
I made this point in the debrief that we did with the remote viewers, but you can attest to this. We've seen Daz's work for a number of years. You've seen a lot of Daz's work.
Mm-hmm.
Daz is not prone to coming up. I mean, in the past, when he's had some traumatic explosive event,
Right.
usually that something like that happens. It might be not quite as severe as it appears in the remote viewing data, but usually something similar to that happens.
Yeah,
so
he's pretty good at getting those.
Yeah, for him to come out that strong and say this is explosive and mushroom cloud and catastrophic. I mean, you saw what
2 sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got the Maui fire a year ago. You remember the one we did, and it was an internal target.
It
was looking at Camp Smith in Hawaii.
And I remember that.
What we were looking for was, is anything going to happen in Hawaii in the next year? Is Hawaii going to be safe? And so I tashed that up. We gave it. And we did the debrief. You did that target too.
I did. Yeah. I had aircraft stuff.
Yeah, we did that. And Courtney did the
analysis
on it. After the Maui fire, Daz goes, "Hey guys, remember that Hawaii target we did last year?" And he brought out his session, and it was the Maui fire exactly.
Wow.
He said there's a town that's on the coast. He drew the Lahaina Harbor shape exactly. He said there are mountains to the east. He said there is a directed energy weapon with a huge loss of life and a big fire.
Gosh.
It's all burned. It all burns down and there's people killed. I mean, and it looks just like, I looked, oh man. And it was one of those that it was so far out at the time. We said, well, thanks, Daz. That's an interesting session. Put that away,
right.
Didn't believe it. But it was.
And then it was the fire.
So,
oh my goodness.
I guess all we do now is wait on this one. We'll see.
Yeah. And circling back to that 9/11 energy, I know whenever we do world events in September, we're always mindful of that. And we always do get a little something that could be, and we say, oh, this could just be 9/11 memories. And it usually ends up being, something, not a huge deal, but we've never gotten stuff this big, this consistent, this corroborating. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I told you the story of 9/11 at Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild 22 years ago. On September 10th, we had Monday night class at HRVG in a little classroom in Kalihi down the road. 12 to 16 of us would meet. Glenn would give us a lecture and we'd work a validation target. So that night, it's September 10, 2001. We worked a target and we're all sitting there, scribble, and then the lights are low, and then we all stack our paper, and then, okay, see what you got. And the target was Timothy Leary in a flotation tank. So we all looked and we're all going, I didn't get a man in a tank of water. I didn't get Timothy Leary, gas. I was like, well, we all missed that. We had a little more energetic stuff. So it's 9:30 at night, Hawaii time, which is 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. New York time.
Yeah.
September 11th.
Yeah. Wow.
So Glenn takes the work home and we wake up the next morning. We're all, oh my God, we've been attacked, and we're watching something. We forget all about the target that we missed, which was Timothy Leary in the flotation tank.
Yeah.
Well, about a month or two later, Sita, who was the secretary of the guild, went to Glenn's house to do bookkeeping and paperwork, and she took the manila envelope with all the work
Yeah.
to file it. Here's the target ID. This was Timothy Leary in the flotation tank, and she's going to put it in the filing cabinet. So she's just kind of looking through it. And she goes, "Oh my God, Dick drew a plane hitting a building. Somebody drew a building collapsing into a mushroom cloud.
Wow.
Somebody else drew, we had people running, falling through the air, burning. We had described 9/11
Hours before. Oh my goodness.
5 hours before. So the target was Timothy Leary in a flotation tank, but our subconscious, instead of seeing that, went over here and said, "Hey, look at this. This is happening." Yeah. So that's what may be happening with this current target.
When you get something like that, Dick, like that after that 9/11, how do you process that? What do you do with that when you realize I predicted this 5 hours before?
Yeah, it was like a couple months later, and Sita said, "Hey, you guys got to look at this work." Yeah. And she did a presentation on it, and it was just, it's eerie. I mean, you've seen it with all the segments you've done with us on monthly events where we say something, show something, and then you see it, you see it happen 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's really eerie. It's like, how did that, it's like, how did we, man, that didn't happen yet, but we saw it. What's up with that? It's just kind of curious.
Yeah. It messes with your head a little bit, trying to, just figure out how we're getting it. And it makes you think about fate versus free will, and is things predestined, and why are we seeing it, and what do we do with it? I mean, coming back to the fact that we made a decision to release this information for this current target.
I'm calling up 2 that I've done just as a kind of proof of performance, because I did these at the same time we were doing that other one. I'll give you a little editing headache because you have to put this in, but we're like 30 minutes in. So 30 minutes in, Dick shares his screen.
That's okay.
I said, I saw this ship underwater, and I go, "Is that the Titanic?" No, it's an image of a shipwreck. I said, "New information." And this came out today. There's a new view of the Yorktown from the Battle of Midway. They just put out a new video. And if you look at the colorization,
it's right there.
Yeah. Okay. And here's one more. I didn't remember. I was looking at this one. I looked through my monthly events. I had forgotten this one. They just lost an F-35 fighter.
So for those that are listening, because I think we're going to release this in audio version too.
Yeah, I drew an F-35, a close-up. I said, "Military jet incident, eject." I can see the pilot eject, and they just had a F-35. So I drew that, and we published it 3 weeks before it happened.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
And no matter how many times I see it, I'm fascinated every single time. It's as if it's the first time I'm seeing it. It just blows my mind.
No matter how many times I do it.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated every time I do it. I see it. Like, I woke up this morning and I had forgotten drawing that image. And I thought, yeah, that F-35, didn't I draw something like that? I went back and looked at my session, because we do so much remote viewing and so much data goes through it. It all becomes a blur.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. It's hard to keep it all straight. I remember one of those first early sessions I did, in just kind of looking ahead and seeing what's out there. I remember drawing an ambulance and a person on a gurney, and like people running with it, and thinking, okay, again, I'm not going to experience anything like that. And a few weeks later, a child in my school got very sick. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
was the one that called the ambulance, and then we rushed her out to the ambulance and everything. And it's just, it's incredible when that happens and you get that hit and that confirmation.
It's
You know,
my remote viewing teacher told me to keep a journal, like try
yeah.
to just keep a, a notebook and a
Hmm.
pen and write down all the random thoughts that go through your
Yeah.
head in the day. And
Yeah.
you'd be surprised at how many of them are communications from your subconscious, just
Yes.
trying to tell you something. I think our subconscious is trying to tap us on the shoulder and tell us
Hmm.
something pretty much all
Hmm.
the time, but we don't know how to listen. We don't pay
I
attention.
I agree, and that's a great drill to, because once you start paying attention to it and you get that positive feedback, it strengthens your awareness of that signal.
Mm,
And Ingo did a lot of good research in his book, Psychic Literacy, talking about
yeah.
documented cases that he could prove of people who got messages from the future, those who acted on it, how it changed their life, those who didn't act on it, how they died. Really
Wow.
good writing
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well documented. But that's a great idea, keeping that notebook to track it down. I always say, when you get those little inklings, like I usually get them about people. I'm comfortable enough now to ask them, hey, are you experiencing this or you just feel this? Because that feedback is so helpful in me in understanding, okay, that was my imagination, or nope, that was a real signal line that I was connecting to.
I was driving home from the beach a few weeks ago, and I was right behind a city bus. So the city bus is right front of my windshield. And I looked at the license plate. It was a Hawaii license plate, and the license plate was bus 021. That was the
Hmm.
license number. And for some reason, I thought that would be easy to remember if you had to report that bus
Hmm.
04021. And it didn't mean anything to me at the time. So the light turns green. We proceed one block, and the bus pulls over, and I pass it. And then I go through the next light, and we're coming up to the next intersection, and the light is red. And that bus, it didn't run a yellow light, it ran a red light without
Wow.
even slowing down, plowed through the intersection. I went, oh my God, I
Whoa.
should report that. And I go, the license number is 0421. But I was so
Yeah.
amazed, but that I had that premonition.
Right. Because it's
And
so subtle and it's dismissive.
yeah, it's just like, what if it's just like this
Uh-huh.
little brief thing. You learn to
Yeah.
listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. Wow, that's incredible. These stories are always so fascinating. So, bringing it back to kind of the topic here, we've got multiple viewers with multiple corroboration. Why do you think everybody's fixing on this? What could account for it?
I think there's a very good chance that there is a big event, and I think it will be a big enough event in consciousness that it got our attention when we were remote viewing. I liken it to this. Um, you have a supermarket 2 blocks away, and you want to give your son some responsibility. So you say, son, here's $10. I need you to go get milk at the grocery store. Get 2% milk. No, get
Hmm.
whole milk and pay for it and bring the change and come home. So your son's walking to the grocery store, and a plane crashes into a house down the block. And he sees that the police come, the fire come, and he's like, oh my God. And then he runs home, and you go, where's the milk? And he goes, I didn't get to the store. There was a plane crash. He was
Yeah.
diverted. So I
Yeah.
think that maybe we were diverted off the target because,
Right.
uh, and I don't think most remote viewers do future events as much as we do.
Hmm.
You, me, Daz, Edward, Nyiam, every month we do future events
Yeah.
for years now. And that's not in the repertoire of most viewers. So we're tuned into that. We've made a pathway to the
Yeah.
future. We've trained ourselves to do that. So I think it may have spontaneously happened
Hmm.
in this that something's coming. And just because that's what we do is we look at
Right.
what's going to be really hard, Dennis. Imagine this one. We just published this last Friday. Hey, could there be a future event? We've got to do monthly events for October.
Oh boy.
This weekend, I've got to sit down and
Right.
do monthly events and try to do it with a clean slate and a clear mind.
Right.
We're
Right.
wrestling with that one right now. So,
But again, this speaks to the experience of you guys, because I remember when Ukraine kicked off and we all got Ukraine data. We all got,
mhm.
and it was data that was, it was specific. It was not something you could make up, right? So it was still tied
Yeah,
into Ukraine, but they said, oh, that's front loaded stuff. But then as the months went on, you were able to separate from that and start getting other news as well. It was hard, but you guys have really kind of refined yourselves to be able to say, okay, I know this is going on. There's some data out there about this. What else do I need to see? And that's what's amazing about what the team is able to do now from all the experience you guys have.
well, the bottom line is we'll keep our eyes open and our wits about us and see what happens. I'm pretty sure that a year from now we'll do a look back and look at all that data and analyze it and see and look at each page and go, oh, that was right. That was right. Oh, that was kind of right, but a little misinterpreted. So yeah, we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see.
You know, I'm thinking one more question that comes to mind with getting this data. And I know we're not going to reveal what the tasking is. We don't even know what the tasking was. But do you think that it was because the time of the tasking was relevant to the time of this event, or do you think this event just set such a strong signal back in our direction that you guys just picked it up now?
I think it's probably so strong that we picked it up now. I don't
Okay.
think the temporal location. I think that probably has less to do with it. That's just
Okay.
my gut feeling.
Yeah. No, that's important. Wow. So it sends a wave back through our perception of time, and you all picked
Yeah,
up on it
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. So what next, Dick? What do you see on the horizon?
We just did a debrief on a target that I did really well on. It was double blind, and I said, "What did I say?" I want to quote my section. It's here somewhere. Well, basically, I said this is going to be a financial event that involves regulatory approval, institutional investment, and what's the word? Acceptance. People onboarding.
Right.
Yeah, and it was the target was the BlackRock ETF. When's that going to get approved, and what does it mean?
Wow.
Nyiam and I had everybody had good work, but Nyiam and I had really good work. I think that's going to happen in early to mid 2024, and that will be huge for cryptos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's an event. I think the onslaught of migrants, invaders, is not going to slow down. I think that Biden will not run. Biden will be replaced by Gavin Newsom. And I think it's going to be a lot of turmoil. It's going to be quite a show. So buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. And I'm just thinking of critics out there, to those, that question remote viewing. I mean, there's plenty of resources out there, but there's a lot of content now that the team has published out on YouTube for free too, that they can go back and look at. All the work is time stamped. This information came out, like especially world event stuff. It's all out there. It's on the private site. There's stuff out there on the public site to just validate the incredible work that the team does weekly, each and every week. The amount of stuff that you guys are putting out there, it's incredible. We have probably hundreds of hours of stuff, right? At this point,
man, our output is amazing, and I'm sometimes I think it's maybe not good for me. And half joking, but half not joking. My teacher, Glenn, said that his unit, they had a full-time psychologist keeping an
Right.
eye on them.
Yeah.
And it is destabilizing. I mean, when you see a, I saw the Maui fire before it happened. The
Yeah.
month before Maui, I said there's a wall of flame and there's people running from a wall of flame.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And when I woke up in the morning and heard that report and saw the picture, and then I went back and looked at my session, I was sobbing. I was crying. I was crying for 2 weeks. Every time I saw
Yeah.
a report on that, it moved me to tears.
Yeah.
So
I bet.
there's a, when you see something in remote viewing and then you see it in reality, it's double impactful for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and it's eerie. So yeah, it's,
Do you th do you think we can use that? I mean, the next piece of that would be if you're getting this information, is there a way we could use that to prevent things, to help people to get through things like that?
I wonder, what do we do that's actionable? Like, okay, I said people are going to be fleeing a wall of flames and there's going to
Hmm.
be at least 50 bodies, maybe
Right.
more.
Right.
I didn't know when and where. Like
Right.
if I would have said, I mean, I don't put enough into these monthly events. I just get them quick and I put them
Yeah.
down and move on. If I would have probed that, and if I would have got like Maui, would have
Right.
I had the guts to say, I think there's going to be a fire in Maui? And then if we had said that, would authorities come after us? And
Right. Yeah. All depends on how it was started and who
is it,
started it.
yeah. I mean, is this actionable? Do we want to be trying to warn people? Is that our job? I mean, that's a big responsibility.
Right. In our context, that's not our function. We're out there gathering information to help people navigate what could be coming in the future, to give people
Yeah.
some advanced warning of things to think about. But I wonder if, let's say, each community had a team of remote viewers and they did a monthly events for their own local community every month, that was set up with proper
Yeah.
protocols and a good analyst. What could they do? What could they see coming for their, within their community? It's a smaller area. Like you guys are doing the entire world and beyond sometimes, right? So that's a big order for you guys to look at. And you're just looking for headlines. But imagine if you had
Yeah.
viewers in each individual town gathering data
That
each
is,
month.
I don't think there are that many viewers that are
There's
that good.
not. No, not at this point. But when I think about the potential of humanity, what we could do with that if the world would allow it, I think that could be a pretty neat thing.
I think in ancient times, I think the rulers did have seers and
Yeah.
fortune tellers and quote
Hmm.
remote viewers that they had on staff, and they said,
Right.
"What do I need to know?"
Yeah.
And throughout history, you've seen that,
Yep.
and maybe the viewers at Future Forecasting Group are fulfilling that role without
Hmm.
knowing it. You know,
Yes. I think
we
about that all
might,
the time.
yeah,
Hmm.
I'm sure someone looks at our work.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
we know, and for those of you listening, futureforecastinggroup.com, and we often have 7-day free trials. I don't know if we have one going right now. We're recording this on is today the 20th?
September 21st,
Oh,
2023.
it's uh fall is in the air. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, futureforecastinggroup.com. Why was I making that point? Because people can go there and see our work.
Yeah.
And
We were talking about that we know that there's people that are looking
oh,
at our work
yeah,
that
I was saying that we look at who subscribes because we have to do very careful KYC. We
hmm
have think tanks, universities,
hmm
high Freemasons, Knights of Orders, we have
Yeah.
very powerful, influential people that watch our work.
Yeah.
And we interact with them sometimes. So
Yeah. Do you feel pressure from that, Dick? I mean, besides just putting your stuff out there to the world, knowing that decision makers might be looking at the things that we're putting out?
no, I'll tell you the pressure I felt was when Ed and Mr. M, I was approached
Hmm.
5.5 years ago, 6 years ago now. Let's see,
Yeah.
2017. Yeah, 6 years ago. Because of some of my work,
Hmm.
I was doing some paid work for Courtney Brown, like I'd
Right.
do a couple a year, and he'd give me a little money, but I
Yeah.
wasn't really a paid remote viewer, and I was not doing that much work. And these people approached me and said, "We can make a site where people will pay to
Hmm.
see your work." And I initially said, "Oh, no way. If you
Yeah.
start paying me for this, that'll put too much pressure on me. The pressure, I won't be able to perform. I don't want to have to do it and have to I
Yeah.
want to be allowed to do a crappy session, or if I don't feel like doing a session, or if
Hmm.
somebody was paying me money, it just it changes the whole feel of the whole
Yeah.
dynamic shifts.
Hmm.
So I was very skeptical, and they said, "Well, we're going to give it a try." And so Daz and I said, "All right, we'll give it a try. We'll try remote viewing some cryptos." We had no idea how to remote view
Right.
cryptos, and
Yeah.
we got some paying subscribers. And I remember thinking, "Oh God, what did I get myself into now? I've got to,
Right.
I did a couple sessions and they were okay. It was like, okay, next month we need you to do this, this, this." I'm like, "Oh man, I, I don't know if
Yeah.
I can keep this pace up." And
Right.
they said, "Well, we're going to have this level looking at this type of target." I go, "Whoa, wait, hold on. I can't,
Hmm.
I can't produce." And then I discovered that actually we can do, it
Hmm.
got to be interesting and fun, and I put the money aside. For a while I
Yeah.
wasn't taking any money. Now I am
Yeah.
paid, but it was just Daz and me more having fun, like, what
Hmm.
can we do with this tick? And then we
Yeah.
brought Riordan in, and then we
Hmm.
brought Nyiam in, we brought you in, and we brought
Yeah.
the Courtney, the analyst, in. So the team grew, and it just kind of organically blossomed and bloomed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we get it. And I think luckily we have enough of a track record. I have enough of a track record of a remote viewer that I could go do two sessions that were be complete crap, and I just say, "Well, I was off. Go back and look at my other
Yeah.
stuff."
Yeah.
Um,
And I always used to joke though, even when you had a bad session, good session or bad session with Dick Allgire, either way, it's a great show because you're
yeah,
so
yeah,
charismatic and you make it
yeah.
fun when you have a
I
bad session.
Sometimes I was more entertaining. Like, "Oh man, I was awful. This was terrible." But if I'm on and I know I'm on, I'll put
Yeah.
on like when we did the Napoleon.
Napoleon. Yeah.
I did not know until you gave the reveal, but
Right.
I went out on a limb on that teaser, and I thought, this is I didn't know it was Napoleon. I thought it was a Roman emperor.
Right.
So I thought, I think this is like a Roman emperor, and I'm gonna go big or go home. So I said,
Hmm.
this guy wants to be a Roman emperor, and he's like, this is the time of the Napoleonic Wars or something,
Yeah.
and I
You mentioned something Napoleon related. You did get that
yeah,
in
and
there.
I was like, why did I say that? And then I thought, okay, I'm going to look like a real idiot here, or I'm going to be Nostradamus. And you said this target was the Napoleon
Napoleon.
chip. I went,
Yeah.
oh man. It was
Yeah.
like,
That was
okay, can I just rest on those laurels for about a month? I didn't want
yeah.
to do another session. I can't do another session that good. And I think the next one I didn't do very well. So you have these cycles of contact where, like,
Yeah.
for a few sessions you're just hammering it, you're on.
Yeah. You've always
And
said
then
that. Yeah.
sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Like when I sit down to do a target, when I'm at this desk and I got a blank wall and I got a blank sheet of paper and I got a pen, I pick up the pen, I write the target ID, and I go, and nothing comes to me. I go, man, okay,
Yeah.
go. Like, and and so I use the protocols and I write something down, and
Right.
I'm pretty confident that at some point in the 45 to 1 hour
Right.
session,
You'll get something.
something's gonna surface.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it
but
usually does with you. You
yeah,
always get at least something in there. But what is
there's
that you say? You have two sessions, two sayings. All data is good data, bad data, and what do you say? Noise,
contamination. Good
contamination.
data,
Any other?
bad data. Every
Yep.
session has good data, bad data, and contamination. There's a couple other sayings we use.
I was going to say the other one. It's
Some
sometimes.
some
Go
days
ahead.
chickens,
That's it.
some days feathers. So like some days you catch the chicken, some day you just get a
You just
couple
get the
feathers,
feathers. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
some days you ride the horse, other days well, like there never was a horse that couldn't be rode. There never was a cowboy that couldn't be throwed, So like some days
Yeah,
you ride the horse, someday the horse throws you. You're
yeah.
gonna
But I think that's important because I know we have a lot of people that listen and that watch what we do that are interested in exploring remote viewing. And I think, Edward always says, this will destroy your ego. It'll humble you. I think that's important, just to have that confidence to go out there and just say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm not going to be afraid to fail. I'm not going to be afraid to miss. So many missed sessions, and that's you build on that. That's still valuable feedback when you missed it to recognize, okay, that was my imagination there. And you
I'll,
do that, you wear that with pride when you go through that.
I'll come at it from a little different angle. Most people have never tried it. Like if you
Yeah,
have never, like, take a target ID, a well-queued target ID, A1, B2, C, and that's just a example. It's not a real target, but take that
right.
target ID 1987-32 or A1, B2, C. Take it and try it. Try closing
Yeah.
your eyes for a second and see if you see something. Try just drawing something or just
Hmm.
making a scribble and probably learn the initial protocols of whatever method and try it. You
Yeah.
may surprise yourself if you've never tried it. Like, how do you know that, okay, I have in this folder,
Dick,
I
hang
have
hang tight 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
okay, it's not every podcast where the police calls the host to make a police report. So that was interesting. We got interesting things going. Everything's okay though, right, Dennis?
Yeah, no, we're
All
good.
under
That
control.
I was
Good.
dealing with something else on
Okay.
my
So
other
what
gig.
what I was saying was, and the interruption is great because I got an actual target ID, and I'm not going to
Oh,
show
there you
you a
go.
real target ID. So what we do is when we remote view, this is a picture and a description in this manila envelope of
Mhm.
a person, place, object, thing, or event. Okay, there's a picture of something in here. If you've never tried this, you don't know what you can do. Like there's a target ID, which is a series of letters and numbers, and that's all you're given. Just take a blank and don't do it with this one.
Right.
I'm just, we can set up a test for
Yeah,
people.
I'll do that on the podcast. I'll set up a sample target in one of the upcoming shows. I'll cue
Yeah.
something and let the people
Yeah.
give it a
I can,
try.
you know what? I'll come on with you another time and I'll get a couple and I'll
Okay.
teach people where to look and how to do it. And
Right.
they can play on. If you've never tried it, like just tell me what's in that. Believe that you can do it and write
Yeah.
something down and draw something. A number of people would probably get really accurate results and go, oh my God, I'm frigging psychic. And
Yeah.
so what happens is you learn the methodology, you learn the protocols, and the protocol, whichever one you use, is it's you squeezing the tube to make the toothpaste come out. The toothpaste is the psychic.
Right.
But people would be surprised how they could do it. What happens is there's something called the beginner's effect, where your first one or two times
Yeah.
you'll surprise yourself, and then you go, "Oh, I'm psychic. I can do this." And then you follow your imagination, and you
Yeah.
totally bomb.
Yep.
And remote viewing, the protocols themselves don't teach you how to remote view. You teach yourself how to remote view, and that's done by the repetition of working a target, getting
Mm-hmm.
feedback, and resolving what you got. Like, oh, the stuff that I didn't believe that was so faint that just seemed like, well, I'll put that down because it was, but that was the target. And what I thought was the target wasn't. And so
Yeah.
it's this feedback where you resolve what your subconscious is giving you, and you that's the training part, is learning
Yeah,
to
that's where your
the
mind
data.
recognizes what's a signal and what's
Yeah,
imagination.
yeah,
You learn to differentiate that. Well, that's great, Dick. I'd love to. We'll do another discussion about that where we can go over just kind of how to remote view. I want to wrap up this conversation we're having. And again, this started out as talking about, the event that will change the world, and just kind of the impact that could possibly have. We're going to move on in a minute. I'm going to actually end this broadcast and we'll start a new discussion. But our next episode, we're actually going to talk about mental health and how it ties into some of the work that we do here as well. I'll share some of my challenges, and I know Dick's going to share some things as well. So it's going to
yeah.
be a very good discussion for anybody that deals with some mental health stuff or knows somebody that deals with it. You're going to want to tune into the next episode of the Future Forecast podcast. But Dick, this was a great conversation. Any final thoughts on this event that all the viewers were seeing?
Stay safe, keep your wits about you, keep
Yeah.
alert, watch what happens, and we'll endure it and analyze it together. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And again, not to spread panic, but it's always a good idea just to have an emergency
yeah,
plan, just to have your supplies ready. I'm not saying build a bomb shelter, not saying, go bug out. Just a good best practice to have stuff ready in case you need to leave, get out of town quick. So, okay.
yep.
Dick, thank you so very much for being my guest. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, my friend. And we're going to pick this up in our next conversation, talking about mental health. So thank you to Dick. Thank you to everybody with the Future Forecasting Group. I'm Dennis Nappi II. Thanks for watching.